and welcome to Ecdis Type Specific Training. The objective of this video is to supplement the onboard Ecdis Type Specific Familiarization Training Program. You are required to satisfactorily complete the training program prior to keeping a navigation watch using an Ecdis. The onboard training program is in addition to the generic 5-day International Maritime Organization or IMO Ecdis model course. It is assumed that you have successfully completed this generic Ecdis training course. SOLAS Chapter 5 Regulation 19 states that all ships, irrespective of size, shall have the nautical charts and publications to plan and display the ship's route for the intended voyage, and to plot and monitor positions throughout the voyage. An electronic chart display and information system, or Ecdis, is also accepted as meeting the chart carriage requirements. The means of complying with safety of life at sea, or SOLAS, Chapter 5 Regulation 19, that is, paper charts and/or Ecdis, needs to be indicated on a ship's Form E. If the ship uses Ecdis for navigation, Form E must clearly state the backup arrangement in place. If a vessel requires flexibility in using either paper charts or Ecdis as a means of navigation, such an arrangement must be clearly indicated on Form E. The fitting of Ecdis on ships engaged on international voyages has now become mandatory in a rolling timetable that began in July 2012. Please refer to the implementation schedule shown on the chart. As per SOLAS Chapter 5 regulations, for a ship to rely on Ecdis for navigation, the Ecdis installation must conform to the relevant IMO performance standards, as specified in Resolution A817, subsection 19, as amended by MSC 232, subsection 82. When Ecdis is being used for navigation, it must be type approved, be maintained to the latest applicable International Hydrographic Organization or IHO standards, use official electronic navigational charts or ENC, and have an adequate independent backup arrangement. There have been many incidents due to over-reliance on Ecdis or lack of equipment-specific knowledge. In one such case, a vessel ran aground on Haysborough Sand off the east coast of England about half an hour after the officer on watch had adjusted the course to follow the passage plan shown on the vessel's Ecdis. The master had changed the original passage plan en route, and the new planned route took the vessel in areas where the charted depth of water was considerably less than the vessel's draft. This route was not adequately checked for navigational hazards, either when planned or when being monitored. Ecdis was the primary means of navigation, but none of the vessel's bridge watchkeeping officers had been trained in its use. In another case, a ro-ro ferry ran aground on a charted wreck whilst sheltering from heavy weather. The master had instructed the bridge team to slow steam in the area and gave verbal instructions on the geographic limits to be imposed. No formal passage plan was formulated, and nothing was marked on the paper or electronic chart. The officer was navigating by eye and with reference to an electronic chart system, but he was untrained in the use and limitations of the system. The electronic system was not properly configured, and thus the charted wreck did not show on the display. As evident from the case studies discussed earlier, equipment-specific training is very important and is a key element in successful transition from paper charts to Ecdis for safe navigation. This requirement is also identified under the provisions of International Safety Management, or ISM Code, which requires not only effective training, but also familiarization of new equipment and regulations with respect to safety and emergency-related duties. Please do note that various manufacturers achieve the required IMO performance standards in different ways. The terminology, the menus, and the way of organizing the facilities vary widely. Do familiarize yourself with every new model you encounter. Please also use the manufacturer's onboard approved familiarization training package for the equipment. whether as computer-based training, an inbuilt training mode in Ecdis, or a book or digital image of a book, for example, a PDF file if available. After completion, please go through the familiarization checklist. Now, let us go on board a vessel fitted with Furuno FEA 2107 Ecdis. We would demonstrate the functionality and various features of this specific Ecdis model. We would step-by-step highlight basic operations in Chapter 1, charts in the second chapter, navigational tools and functions available in Furuno FEA 2107 Ecdis in the third chapter. The features available for route planning will be covered in the fourth chapter, route monitoring in the fifth, and finally in the last and the sixth chapter, we will demonstrate the functionality related to voyage recording. Ready to board the vessel? Let's proceed and cover these topics one by one.
Ecdis Type Specific Training. Model Furuno FEA 2107. Chapter 1. Basic Operation. Switching the Ecdis on and off. Turn on the power switch at the rear of the processor unit, followed by pressing the power switch on the control unit. The equipment releases a beep when the power switch is turned on. To turn off the system, reverse this sequence. The operator controls the ECDIS or Ecdis with the control unit, which is equipped with a trackball, right and left mouse buttons and a scroll wheel. The control unit may additionally be equipped with a keyboard. All functions of the Ecdis can be accessed using the trackball, mouse buttons and scroll wheel alone. To operate from a menu with the mouse, roll the trackball to select desired item. Operate the mouse buttons or scroll wheel depending on the item to select option, and then press the scroll wheel to confirm your selection. The Ecdis screen is divided into several areas. The status bar, which is always shown at the top of the screen, mainly displays equipment status. The boxes at the right side of the screen comprise the information areas. They are permanently displayed and show information such as your ship's position, alerts generated by the system, workstation mode, and cursor position. The operator may display the data of his or her choice in one of the information areas called a sidebar. The information area displays your ship's position, course, and speed, and the cursor's location on the chart. Information from the positioning sensors is heading, water speed, transversal speed, course over ground, speed over ground, latitude and longitude position of own ship, datum in use, and the positioning source. The cursor position information indicates the latitude and longitude position of the cursor displayed in selected datum, and range and bearing from your ship's position to cursor. You may select the type of information to be displayed on the sidebar of the Ecdis. The available options are Autopilot Display, Conning Display, Docking Display, and Chart Legend. The route display or autopilot display is always displayed. You can display either of them together with the conning display, docking display, or chart legend. The autopilot display is available when track control is set to yes. The bottom block in the information area is the mouse functions area, and it shows the current left mouse button, scroll wheel and right mouse button functions. The electronic chart area takes up most of the display. To open a sidebar, put the cursor on the area shown. Select Sidebar appears in the mouse functions area. Click the right mouse button to show the sidebar menu on the display. Spin the scroll wheel to select desired sidebar from the menu and then press the scroll wheel. To remove an item from the sidebar, deselect it following the same procedure. The root sidebar displays route. The name of the monitored route is displayed here. Plan speed. The planned speed to approach to WPT, that is, the waypoint the ship is approaching. Plan. Planned course between previous waypoint and to waypoint. Route is the calculated set course to follow the monitored route, including off-track, drift, and gyro error compensation. The caption CHLIM or channel limit refers to the planned width of channel to approach to waypoint. Off-track refers to the perpendicular distance the ship is from the intended track. The caption to WPT or to waypoint is the waypoint that the ship is approaching. The caption DIST-WOP or distance wheel over point is the distance to the point where rudder order for course change at to waypoint is given. Time. Time to go to WOP or wheel over point. The caption turn RAD or turning radius refers to the planned turning radius at to waypoint. Turn rate is the calculated rate of turn, which is based on current speed and planned turning radius. Next, WPT means the waypoint, following the to waypoint. And lastly, next refers to the planned course between to waypoint and next waypoint. The autopilot sidebar displays steering mode. The caption PROG CRS or program course shows the planned course if you use program track or program heading change steering modes. Set CRS is the actual set course. Set HDG is the actual set heading. Radius refers to the actual set radius. ROT is the display of the value for rate of turn. The caption COND or condition is the setting for loading condition. PERF is the setting for steering accuracy, and off-track refers to the distance from center line of planned route. The conning sidebar displays ROT or rate of turn indicator, heading indicator, speed indicators which are longitudinal speed, source of speed and a transversal speed, and lastly rudder angle indicator. The docking sidebar displays ROT indicator, heading indicator, speed indicators which are longitudinal speed, source of speed and transversal speed, rudder angle indicator, and depth below transducer at bow and at stern. The dialog boxes display information as well as provide means to change equipment settings. The boxes are activated by clicking the mouse over certain areas on the Ecdis display. Put the cursor on the appropriate area and then click the right or left mouse button to display the corresponding dialog box on the Ecdis display. To close a dialog box, click the cross sign at the top right corner of the dialog box. Please note that only one dialog box may be shown at a time. Dialog boxes that have a triangle at their upper left-hand corner contain a menu that provides additional functions. Move the cursor on the triangle to show a menu from which to select additional functions. Selections can be made on the screen by pointing with the cursor and then scrolling through various options with the scroll wheel. When you put the cursor on a text or a numeric, it turns green, purple or blue depending on palette in use to indicate that the scroll wheel can be used to scroll through options available or change the value of a numeric. Selection is confirmed by pushing the scroll wheel. Functions that can be performed directly on the screen are 1. Chart orientation. 2. Operating mode. 3. Chart scale. 4. Datum for output coordinates. 5. Route operations. 6. User chart and notes operations. 7. Target tracking or AIS. On or off. Vector length. Past position setting. CPA time setting. CPA auto activate setting and lost target alarm setting. Color palette. There are several color palettes available for choosing colors for the chart background and information areas. With any palette selection except day bright, text is shown in different colors to help you distinguish between them. To select a color palette, follow these steps. 1. Set the cursor in the electronic chart area. 2. Spin the scroll wheel to show Chart Display Info Standard Display in the Mouse Functions area. 3. Push the left mouse button to open the Chart Display dialog box. If the chart page is not selected, click an arrow tab in the dialog box to display it. 4. Put the cursor on palette. 5. Spin the scroll wheel to select desired palette and then push the scroll wheel. 6. Click the X at the top right corner of the dialog box to close the box. The backlight brilliance of Ecdis display and keyboard can be changed via the control unit. Chart orientation. To set the chart orientation, put the cursor on the text at the location as shown. The color of the text changes from current color to orange as per the palette in use. Use the scroll wheel to scroll through options for chart orientation until the desired orientation, course up, north up, or route up appears. As you scroll, the color of the text changes depending on the palette in use. Push the scroll wheel to confirm your selection. The text is displayed in its usual color. True and relative motion. There are two display modes to present your ship's movement on the electronic chart. They are true motion, TM, and relative motion, RM. To select these modes, follow the same procedure as described earlier for the display mode. The chart orientation combinations available are true motion north up, true motion course up, relative motion north up, relative motion course up, and relative motion root up. Vector length. To select the vector length, put the cursor on the text at the location as shown. The color of the text changes from current color to orange as per the palette in use. Use the scroll wheel to scroll through options for vector length. As you scroll, the color of the text changes depending on the palette in use. Push the scroll wheel to confirm your selection. The text is displayed in its usual color. Off-centering own ship position. Pressing this button, marked as OFF-CNT, off-centers your ship's position to the cursor location on the Ecdis display. Press this button again to return ship's position to screen center. Man overboard function. The equipment contains a built-in man overboard function that records position at the time of man overboard in a one-touch operation. This function can also be accessed with the mouse. Spin the scroll wheel to display Event, Info, Mob in the mouse functions area, and then click the right mouse button or simply press the MOB button on the control panel if available. This records the MOB position in the logbook, and the MOB mark is displayed on the screen. Anchor watch. To activate the anchor watch, these are the steps that need to be followed. 1. Open the main menu. 2. Select Anchor Watch. 3. Enter desired value in the drag circle field. And then 4. Click the Drop Anchor button. To start Anchor Watch, click the Start Anchor Watch button. If your ship drifts more than the distance set, the alert Anchor Watch appears. To deactivate the Anchor Watch, 1. Open the main menu. 2. Select Anchor Watch. And 3. Click the Stop Anchor Watch button. Ecdis Chart 1 Symbology. You can familiarize yourself with the various chart symbology used by browsing through International Hydrographic Organization Ecdis.